Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. So we're coming back with Mathmech here. This is one of the decks that I use in this season I can actually pull this up over here and show you how I have already managed to hit Master 1, and this is probably the quickest I've ever done it. I was really eager to get up to rating duels, and so I decided to just kind of buckle down and play a bunch of decks I knew well, except for Pearly, which I did mostly to get the games for the video, but yeah, as you can see, not to toot my own horn or anything, but 2-2, we didn't do too badly. 73.3% win rate, pretty consistently over 70% win rate across all the decks we played, and that last stretch that got me from Master 4 to Master 1, well, pretty much Master 3 I was at, to be honest, but that was in fact Mathmech. So also, if you're interested, by the way, in getting some cool stat spreads like this for yourself, definitely recommend checking out Untapped. It's that deck companion you see me use during all my games on the YouTube videos and on streams. There is a link to a free download to it in the description below. Using that link does help support the channel. So again, even if you're not interested in like the deck tracker aspect in game, by using it, you do get access to cool stats like this as well. So, but anyway, as I said before, we did the last bit of our climb here with Mathmech. A couple of reasons I picked Mathmech. One, because I wanted to cover Mathmech, of course, this season. Two, I really enjoy playing Mathmech. But three, and probably the most important, I feel when it comes to going second, this deck might actually be a little more well-poised than even Fire King Snake Eye. Fire King Snake Eye is pretty undisputedly the best deck of the format. However, one thing I have noticed is that when it comes to going second, I feel like it's not a horrible deck by any means, but it does struggle more than some other decks I've played. And Mathmech, I felt like, was one of those decks that had a better going second game. Because it gets to play... Actually, I don't know if we're on more hand traps than Mathmech. I feel like we are because we're not maxing out on Veilers in our current Fire King Snake Eye build. And I know we don't have triple tax, so... but also, Mathmech's going second game plan is fairly simple. You either OTK with Terahertz or update Jammer plus access code, and there are quite a few different ways to do that. So, you know, even if there is a one best deck in the format, sometimes it is actually to your advantage to pick something that's not that deck. Like, you know, you might think, oh, if Fire King Snake Eye is the best deck, why not just use that to ladder all the way? But, you know, decks have their pros and cons, right? And I think taking that into account is just as important as the deck's inherent power level. So, as far as what I've switched up with the Mathmech build, the main thing I've changed up is the extra deck, actually. I've finally, I think for the first time since it's come out, decided not to play Firewall Dragon Singularity. Now, don't get me wrong, I do very much like this card. I think it is quite a good card, and I don't think that Mathmech decks that play it are bad by any means. Of course, like I said, I've been playing this card pretty much ever since it came out up to this point. But, you know, I was thinking about it, and for Snake Eye, right, the reason I don't like the Synchro package as much in like a pure Snake Eye build, right, is because to efficiently go into it, you need a starter plus an extender. Now, I know in Snake Eye there is a line where you can go into it with just Ash, but I think that line is suboptimal. I think that building a standard board with just Ash is better than ending on like the Elf Barone kind of thing, but that's just my own 2 cents. But anyway, my main point I'm getting at here is that, you know, when I thought about Singularity and Mathmech, I'm like, well, that's the same thing, right? Like, in order to end on Singularity plus Terahertz, you need to have Circular or a starter plus an extender and also not get interrupted. Which honestly is kind of a bit to ask in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! To have starter, extender, and your opponent not have any hand traps, right? It's a little win more, a little bit, not much, but very slightly. And I feel the same way about the Synchro package in Snake Eye for reference too. I don't think it's bad. I think it's very slightly win more. But the other thing too is that I did actually want the Mirror Logic Aggregator back in the extra deck for some additional negates. There are some other extra deck cards I could have thought about playing, but you know, when it comes to the Mathmech extra deck, it is pretty tight. There are quite a few cards that are good to play, but you really only have one, maybe two open slots in the extra deck, and I've been very much liking the second Splash Mage as using the one of the leftover slots. The other leftover slot being, of course, the one that Singularity was occupying and Aggregator is now. Splash Mage, the second one, is very, very good because, and this is a tip for playing against Mathmech, by the way, the best point to Nibiru Mathmech is after they've made Splash Mage, but before they've made Transcode, right? Because if that happens and you're not playing a second Splash Mage, the only way you can go back into your plays is by making transcode with 3 monsters, and that is extremely difficult to do, right? Because Splash Mage is water, you can't just go into G-Golem and then bring it back. So that's why I think second Splash Mage is exceptionally valuable to the extra deck. It gets you out of a lot of tight spots. I can tell you, there's been like multiple, like I can think of like at least 3 off the top of my head games in recent months where I would have won, except I wasn't playing the second Splash Mage yet. So I think that for me, that's definitely going to occupy one of those, you know, optional slots there. Almirage is one I've been asked about before. It might not look necessary, but being able to convert any of your hand traps into a Cyberse monster is important, especially if you get disrupted, right? It can be very, very important for that reason. So I think Almirage is needed. Again, I think everything except Aggregator and second Splash Mage is mandatory to play in this extra deck. And even then, second Splash Mage, I think I've given enough justification. Aggregator does not come up as often. You could definitely get away without this if you really wanted to play Singularity, or I know that the VLAN Hydra is another card that is decently popular in Mathmech. I don't think it's bad, I just haven't tried it out yet myself, but that's just my take on the extra deck there. Main deck, I really don't think there's much to say. It's effectively the exact same as it has been for me for quite a while now. I'm still not on Microcoder, the Microcoder package with the Slide Conflict. Honestly, for the same reason I'm not on Singularity anymore, right? To set up Microcoder plus the Cynet Conflict, you know, you have to go with uninterrupted with a starter plus extender. I think there are some hands where you can do it with just a starter by itself, but from what I know, you typically need a starter plus extender. Plus, also, if you don't go first, this I mean, it's only a 2-card package, so it's really not that big of a deal. But if you don't go first, like, this 2-card package becomes much less impactful, which is another reason I'm not like the biggest fan of it. So, yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything I had to say about the build here. Let's go ahead and break it down before we watch our replays. So we're on 3 Effect Veiler, 1 Dotscaper, 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom Enjoy Spring, 1 Firewall Guardian, 1 Mathmech Sigma, 1 Mathmech Addition, 1 Mathmech Subtraction, 1 Mathmech Multiplication, 1 Mathmech Diameter, 3 Mathmech Circular, 3 Firewall Defensor, 2 Parallel Exceed, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 2 Cynet Mining, 1 Mathmech Equation, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 3 Small World, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 3 Infinite Permanents, and then 1 Mathmech Superfactorial. That's going to be it for the main deck. For the extra, we're on 1 Cyberse D-Save Worm, 1 Primathmech Laplation, 1 Primathmech Almbertian, 1 Mirrorlogic Aggregator, 1 Salamangreat Almirage, 1 Ling Garibo, 1 Link Decoder, 1 Update Jammer, 2 Splash Mage, 1 G-Golem Crystal Heart, 1 Transcode Talker, 1 Decode Talker Heat Soul, 1 Access Code Talker, and then finally, of course, Firewall Dragon, Dark Fluid, Neo, Tempest, Terahertz. Alright, that'll do it for our list. Let's watch those games. Alright, got a nice variety of meta decks that we're going to see. Again, these games were from our climb up to... It was pretty much Master 3. I was 2 games away from Master 3 when I started the climb, which was on stream, by the way. If you want to see me getting to Master 1 with this deck, like the full stream, you can go ahead and check out the VOD either on my Twitch, linked in the description below, or my second YouTube channel, also linked in the description below. Anyway, this is just like a custom opening hand here. We just opened a Circular plus Diameter plus Addition, Ash Blossom, and Call By. So if you open Diameter plus Circular, you can do what I did here, sequence it so you Circular, send the Sigma, then don't bring back Sigma yet, normal Diameter to bring back Sigma, and then you can chain block the Circular effect, make it Chain Link 1, and then Diameter Chain Link 2. From here we can Almbertian effect to go for just another extender at this point. And this also puts the Sigma back into our graveyard as well. But here, I'm not going to need it. So the reason I didn't bring back Sigma off its effect is because I didn't want it to get banished. I wanted to have it for a follow-up turn in case I needed it. Plus, again, we just have a million bodies with this hand. It's not like we need it anyway. Also, I'm keeping the Alimbertian up here because it was made with a diameter, so that way if they have like an Nibiru or something or a hand trap, we can save the negate for. That's why I went for Link Decoder here. Also, this hand is like... Actually, we're about to do it right now. Very easily capable of going into Terahertz plus, what's it called? Heat Soul. I did make a little misplay here. I used Terahertz effect and sent the D-Save Worm, not even thinking like, oh yeah, I was supposed to send Dotscaper. By sending Dotscaper, it would have summoned itself, then I could have kept the Alimbertian on the field for the negate. So that was a misplay on my part, I will definitely admit that. Yeah, I could have made the Heat Soul here and also kept that Omni negate on the field. So for this one last moment, I did leave myself open to Nibiru, but thankfully our opponent did not have it. So, but I still could have played around it if I had just played a little better. Anyway, gonna go for the Heat Soul draw. Okay, so here, this is a very important moment in this game. So, opponent is going draw phase call by on the D-Save Worm. They're preemptively doing it, which as soon as it happened, I was like, that's weird. And my first instinct was to be like, alright, well, I'll just let it go, right? Because it's not like if I chain D-Save Worm on the call by, it's not like it'll make a difference anyway. But then I had a thought. I was like, why are they doing this? And not thinking about it from perspective like, why would you ever do that? That's a bad play. But really thinking, what are the set of circumstances that would need to be for my opponent to want to call by D-Save Worm right now? And I thought about it, and I said to chat on stream, I was like, you know, I bet my opponent has a second call by, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me here. So that's why I chained Super Factorial. You can't be too greedy with the Super Factorial. It's very tempting to want to wait for them to have a monster and a spell trap and a Cypher card in hand. However, one thing that I think I see Mathmech players misplay the most is getting too greedy with the Super Fact. So I'm going to chain it here, because again, if I think they have a second call by, they're going to have to use it now, which... it turns out they did. So now I can use the D-Save Worm, which has not been banished yet because the first call by is still on the same chain link. I can use the D-Save Worm to negate the second call by, and now effectively both my opponent's call bys have been negated, right? Because the first one is no longer as a target, the second one was negated by D-Save, Super Fact resolves, and my opponent's just going to concede here. That also leaves them down to 2 cards in hand, soon to be 3 after the Laplacian gets the hand rip in. Then we can also have the Omni negate through the diameter effect in the opponent's turn as well. At that point, they're left with 3 cards left in hand. They have to play through the Laplacian Omni negate. I still have the ability to send Aggregator off of Terahertz for a well-timed negate. And then, of course, we have our back row as well as Valor and Ash Blossom. But not even counting those, right? We still have onboard in-engine multiple disruptions, even using Super Fact at that point. Which is why, again, I think that you really shouldn't try to get too greedy with Super Factorial. Now, obviously, if my opponent had not called by draw phase, I would have waited till Bane to try to snipe a card on board as well. But, yeah, I think that's kind of the moral of that story there, is... you know, not only just a Super Factorial thing, but again also, really, when your opponent makes a weird play, not just dismissing it as a weird and bad play, but asking yourself, what would be going through their head? What would the circumstances have to be in order for that play to make sense to them? And that can often give you clues as to what your opponent's holding in their hand. So, alright, that's the first duel down. Let's take a look at the next one. Alright, next opponent is on Branded. You actually don't see this deck as much as you probably should anymore on Ladder. Of course, it is still a very, very solid Tier 2 deck, but the play rate on it has plummeted quite a bit, I've noticed. Alright, so the hand like this, we're going first again. I'm going to lead with the Small World here, and I am going to banish the Dotscaper and then Parallel Exceed to bridge into the Circular here. I could normal summon Firewall Defensor and start my combo that way, but I don't like to start by using my normal summon if I can help it, right? Because, like, let's say I did lead with normal summon Firewall Defensor and then my opponent disrupts it. Now, if I follow up with Circular, I can't then normal summon Diameter, so... And if I get to a point where I am right now, where I'm adding and then normal summoning Diameter anyway, that's still fine, because I can use Defensor for a follow-up play. But I'm just going for a pretty standard turn 1 combo line here. I will say, though, if I did not have Ash Blossom in hand, I would have small worlded for that and then done my combo with Firewall Defensor. Because really, Max C is about the scariest hand trap that your opponent can have as the Mathmech player. So I definitely like to small world for Ash Blossom if I already open a starter, even if it's Defensor and not Circular. I mean, Defensor is a fine starter. It's just like, you would definitely prefer to start with Circular than Defensor. Alright, send a D-save, set the Super Fact, pass it over to the opponent. Again, pretty standard turn 1 line there. Opponent's going to lead with Albaz. I am going to chain the Terahertz effect here. Although I cannot prevent the fusion, the Mirror Jade, from coming down here, what I can do is I can send Aggregator anyway. Because the way that Mirror Logic Aggregator, well, it's not even the way that this card in particular works, right? The way that this all works out is that Mirror Logic Aggregator triggers when it is sent to the graveyard, but obviously in Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards can't interrupt chains, right? So just because the Aggregator was sent in the middle of the chain link doesn't mean it'll activate right away. It'll activate on the next available chain link, which will be the one where Mirror Jade is summoned. So now after Mirror Jade is summoned, I can use the Aggregator to negate it. Alright, opponent's going to Spriggan's Kit for the Brain Diffusion. Obviously, I'm going to save the Ash Blossom for the Brain Diffusion itself. Alright, we're looking pretty good here so far. Don't need to use my Super Factorial yet. It might seem pretty tempting to, but, like, they haven't really done anything that's really made me want to use it. Now, okay, so this is a situation where I am actually looking to maximize my Super Factorial usage. Now, you might be thinking, well, heck, didn't you just say you shouldn't be greedy with Super Factorial? Typically, yes. However, here, all the things that my opponent has are, like, public information at this point, right? Like, I know the card in hand is the Branded in Red they add off of Aliber. I know they can still send a card off of Mirror Jade. I know it's in their graveyard. I have complete information on my opponent's board. Because there aren't really any, like, mystery factors here that I'm going to have to worry about, now I can time my Super Factorial better. Also, I don't feel the need to use it before my opponent battles here because they're not battling for lethal. Branded in Red, the monster that summoned, cannot attack directly, so this is also not intimidating me. This definitely felt like bait to try to get me to use my Super Fact. Yeah, we can make a Ridrum here, but it can't attack directly. Even if it could, I would still not use Super Fact here, because I would still not be dead. I would still not be at 0 life points. Every now and then, you might see people talking about using life points as a resource. This is the kind of thing that they're referring to, right? Where, you know, you might be tempted to use cards to protect your life points, because if those hit 0, you lose. So the lower they are, the worse, right? Well, really, the only point that matters is the last one. As long as you've got 1 life point, you're still in the game. There's no difference between having 1 life point and 8,000 at the end of a duel, right? So, again, I'm not using the Super Fact to try to block attacks to save my life points here. I'm using my life points to prevent me from having to flip up Super Factorial yet, if that makes any sense, right? That's what it means to use your life points as a resource. Now here, I will Super Fact during the end phase, not even to snipe the Branded in Red. I want to get rid of that Retribution, right? Because I know I'm going to lose my board to Mirror Jade, and I can't play through the Retribution. Got the actual literal worst top deck in the world here, by the way, the Firewall Guardian. Some people have told me in the past they don't like the Firewall package because they don't like playing Guardian because it's a Garnet. I can understand that, and this is probably the height of an example of where Firewall Guardian is coming up and not being ideal to draw, right? However, I don't view Firewall Guardian as a Garnet. It's much better than that because it has a lot of application on its own, right? I guess my opponent's just going to concede here as soon as I normal summon it, but like even here, you know, Guardian can still link off and then bring itself back, and that's enough bodies for lethal. I mean, to be fair, I think we already had enough bodies on board for lethal because we just go into the G Golem, right? And climb up to X. Although, I don't know. We might have needed the extra body still to make the update jammer because you need Cyber Monsters with levels, level 2 or higher specifically, in order to make update jammer. But anyway, yeah, I think that was a pretty solid game against Branded there, playing through their disruption that they had, not disruption even, they're playing through the stuff they had on their turn using our turn 1 setup. So, alright, we got one more duel to check out before we end off here. Let us finish with that one. And our final opponent is going to be on Kashtira. which kind of baffles me. Kashtira has like over double the play rate or popularity rating on Untapped that like Branded has, for example. I think Branded is a much better deck than Kashtira for sure. Alright, so going first here, opening hand, I mean, we have side-up mining. I was going to say it's not ideal, but I don't know. We have mining, we have Ash Blossom, we have triple attack. How much more could you really ask for? Well, opponent's going to Gamma here. I'm going to use the Ash Blossom to just kind of like, whenever I Ash Blossom a Gamma, I always just imagine myself just like shoving it back physically into their hand. However, as we can see here, they're going to follow up with a Shifter, which is very, very not good for us, because as you can imagine, Mathmech is definitely one of the decks that needs its graveyard. Alright, so the Gamma is in hand. The Circular is summoned to the field. Now we're going to triple attack here. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? So, before the Shifter got activated, my thought process was, okay, I'm going to Ash Blossom the Gamma, then I'll triple attack and rip the Gamma from their hand, then I'll be able to combo, hopefully if they don't have another hand trap. However, they did have another hand trap, the Shifter that they revealed. However, because it was during the same chain link, before I activated triple attack, now I have more of a decision to make, right? As far as what mode I'm going to use on triple attack. Do I hand rip them or do I draw two here? There's arguments for both, but I am actually going to draw two cards here, because my thought process is, okay, I'm not going to combo anymore this turn anyway because of Shifter, so the Gamma doesn't matter as much. So they'll summon a monster on their turn, right, which means the Gamma won't be live. So I'd rather try to get hand traps for their turn instead of just leaving Circular on the board. Unfortunately for me, I drew Veiler, which I can't use under Shifter, but we do have Nib in hand anyway, so... here, the opponent reveals that they are on Kashtira, using the Pathfinder for the Wraithsoft and going into the Unicorn, adding the Birth. They already have the Rise Heart in hand. What did they banish from me here? A lot of my starters, which is not great, but we do have a Small World, so... although we're not actually able to Small World for Circular with this hand, because we have both Veiler and Nib, and we do kind of count on these to bridge into each other to go into Circular. But those, I mean, if we topped it just about any other monster, we'll be good. Alright, here I'm going to Nib as soon as they have all four of their monsters on the board. And that is going to be the end of their turn, so... Alright, draw phase, we drew, again, any other monster at this point is all we really needed, so... I could have just used the Subtraction, but I decided to just use the Small World here and go for the Circular anyway. Although I should have summoned a Circular before bringing out Sigma. That was a misplay on my part. We can pivot around it to still get the Circular search anyway. I can normal summon this Veiler and then link it into Almirage, and then link off the Almirage with the Sigma to go for Splash Mage, and then Splash Mage will bring back a Mathmech monster, and then I can grab Equation. Not that I'll need it at this point, but yeah, we can have it just in case anyway. Because of the Nibiru token, this is going to be an Update Jammer access code OTK, not a Terahertz OTK, so... Yeah, pretty simple. There's the Update Jammer, linking it off with the Splash Mage. I could have gone into transcode first to make it 5300 instead of 43, but it doesn't really matter, so I decided to go straight into it. Although maybe making transcode would have actually been better anyway, because then I could have made G-Golem for a follow-up and followed up more easily if I needed to, but nah, we're good here. Also worth noting to not pop the Birth in the field spell. That was actually pretty important here. If at all possible, when you're going for an access code OTK, do try to leave your opponent with at least one card on the field, because if you do... they don't have any cards on the field, then they can imperm your access code, dropping its attack points down, and then you won't be able to OTK. So that is definitely important to be mindful of. But alright, looks like that'll do it for these games and for this video. So thank you for watching. Super appreciate it as always. And yeah, let's just go on now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free. And if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.